Hello Stampers, this is Kate with Kate's Paper Creations. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Washington State, and I welcome you to my free video tutorial for hashtag simple stamping, beautiful cards simply made. And I am going to be doing using the Pansy Patch suite from the new 2021-22 Stampin' Up! Annual Catalog. That suite is found on page 28 and 29 of the catalog, and I needed a simple card in this, so here you go with a sneak peek and everything. So I'm going to be making a simple note card sized card, and Stampin' Up! Sells note cards and envelopes in the basic white. I happened to have a few extra envelopes around for some reason, and so I'm going to cut my own. And to do that, it needs to be 7 inches wide. So I started with this, just a standard piece of cardstock. This is the heavy or the thick, and I'm going to cut off 1.5 inches so that this becomes 7 inches wide, because it's 8.5, so I'm taking 1.5 inches off. Okay, and then this way it needs to be 5 inches. So then it's just 5 inches, like that. And I'll make 2 of them while I'm here. And then you're going to turn it like this and score it at 3.5. And that'll make oops, get that blade up there. So I just score, and that'll make a 3.5 by 5 note card. And that's the standard size for a note card. It's still totally mailable with regular postage, okay? So because this is a simple, trying to stick with the simple card concept, this is just going to be stamped directly onto the cardstock, and I'll show you and tell you how I did everything. So let's start by just folding and burnishing the edge of our card. Find my bone folder, here it is, and we'll get that burnished really good, because we're going to just be stamping right onto the card itself. Now I am using Highland Heather. I'm just going to get these out. Gorgeous Grape. I'm going to be using one of the new colors, Evening Evergreen, for the green. Bumblebee is going to make that cute little yellow center that's on the flower. And Blackberry Bliss is going to make that lovely dark center of the flower. Okay, now every year when it's annual catalog changeover time, I go through and I re-ink my pads, I fill my markers. It's just kind of an annual thing I do. Sometimes there's stamp pads throughout the year that I use more than others, and I might have to re-ink them once during the year, but typically once a year I just re-ink. Sometimes I have a tendency to make them too juicy. And so I wanted to share with you a way that you can deal with that if you happen to have the same issue. So let's say this is my Highland Heather and that I'm getting too juicy of a stamp. Okay, you can take your bone folder or the side of one of your clear blocks and just push the ink back. You don't have to soak it up out of it with a paper towel or anything like that. Just push the ink back like this a few times, maybe 8 or 10 times across here like that. And clean the edge of your bolt folder, of course. And then that gives you a spot where the ink's not quite so juicy. Now I'm going to stamp this, well, let me show you the case. So the Pansy Patch has stamps to create a large flower and some small flowers. And I do have a link to a video or a page that's on my blog where I laid out all of the dies and all of the stamped images and all of that and put it all together so that, because this can get kind of confusing when you open it up. There's just so many dies and so many things to do with it. And I wanted to kind of simplify that. So I created what I would call a cheat sheet page, and it's posted on my blog, and the link is in the description below, and you can go there and get that and download it and print it, and it'll help give you something to look at so you know what dies go with what stamps and all of that. Okay, so anyway, this is the larger of the pansies, and I'm going to stamp the solid part of the background with that, and I wanted 2 of them on there, so I'm kind of going like this. And then I wanted to, and I know this is simple stamping, I don't know if this breaks the rules or not, but I wanted them to overlap each other, and whenever I do that, I'm going to stencil. I'm going to mask, I mean. So I stamped this same image onto just a plain piece of copy paper, lightweight copy paper, and I cut it out. Whenever you're making a mask, you want to cut it out just a teeny tiny bit smaller than the actual image so that you don't end up with gaps. If you cut it the same size, you might end up with a little white gap between your designs, and then it kind of defeats the purpose. So you want to cut it slightly smaller, and that's what I have done. And I'm going to put that on there. And on the back of this, because it's just plain old copy paper, you could use a Post-it note and use the sticky part of the Post-it note, but I have Tombow removable adhesive, and I use it for this kind of stuff, and it just works great. Okay, so then I'm going to put my second pansy on, and it's going to overlap just a little bit and maybe come down just a little bit like that. Okay, and then I can pull up my mask, and when you do a mask like this, just put it inside your case somewhere and save it. And then it's there. You don't have to cut it out again. Okay, the next one is going to be the detail, and it's going to be with the Gorgeous Grape, so it's a little bit darker. I'm going to make sure my pad isn't too juicy for that either. It'll take a while to kind of use these down, but now, and this is pretty easy to line up because it's got this little knob on the side, and so it's pretty darn easy to line up. Where's that? Mask. I could have just left that on there and built this other flower. I should have done that, but that's okay. Like that. So that's how I did that part. Then there is this little centerpiece that goes right here in the middle. And again, I used the Highland Heather, but I stamped it off once, so it would be a lighter color. Oops, do the right one here. And now I'm finally past where I need that mask on there. Okay. And just like that. And then the next piece is this, and it goes in there. I don't know, hope you can see that. It goes in there like that. That's the Blackberry Bliss, and it just goes right in the middle like that. And then the last one is that little tiny yellow dot that goes in the middle. For that, I'm using Bumblebee, and right there in the middle, just like that. Now, there's not really a stem image in the set that's large enough for what I wanted to accomplish, as you can see here. So I got out the Evening Evergreen marker. I'm going to be using the brush end, and I'm going to just hand draw my stems. It's not that hard to do. Just take a slow and steady hand at it, and there you go. And then we'll do this one like that. Okay, and then now I have to say, I used I wanted leaves, and they didn't have a leaf stamp like what I wanted in this particular set. But there is a leaf stamp in the Celebrate Sunflowers, and it's this one right here, and it's a perfect size. But this particular stamp came with those two on the same stamp. In other words, they were connected to each other. And I wanted to use one leaf at a time, so don't get scared, don't cry. I cut them in half. So I have 2 leaves now instead of 1. I don't think that's going to damage the use of my set in the future. I'll still be able to use both leaves when I want to, but I wanted my leaf single. Okay, so I am using the Evening Evergreen, and I am going to, that one should be okay. Let me clean it once though. Okay, and I am going to put some leaves on here. Just like that. And I was thinking it would be really cool. This was actually on this card where this leaf went under the other leaf. That was kind of an accident. It wasn't planned that way. I'm sure you can appreciate that. We all have those moments. But I'm going to create another small mask for a second, and I'll show you why. Let me just get it cut out here. It doesn't have to be perfection, just close. It won't take but a minute. Well, actually less than a minute, a few seconds. It's amazing how much you can say and do in 30 seconds. When you start recording, you realize that. Okay, then we're going to put some of that removable adhesive on there. And I am going to cover up this leaf that I have already done. And I am going to put a leaf here. And then I'm going to peel that piece up. And then it looks like there's a leaf going underneath, which I really kind of like. Gives it more depth, even though it's still totally flat. So, you know, that's just kind of a fun thing to do. Okay, then I did stamp from the stamp set. I'll get that out again. It has this stamp, wishing you a little extra happiness just because you're you. And here again, I didn't want all of the words, and I didn't want to deal with it having to, I cut it. I cut that one too. So now I have 2 stamps. One that says wishing you a little extra happiness, and another one that says just because you're you, which I can add anytime I want to other things. I'm brave. I don't have a problem with cutting my stamp sets up if I need to. So I'm going to put the wishing you a little bit of extra happiness with Blackberry Bliss. And because no 2 cards are ever exactly the same, but this one will go up here. And then I have the Happy Birthday, which is also going to be stamped with Blackberry Bliss. And I'm going to put it, I thought about over there, but I'm going to put it over here this time, like that. Totally cute. I love it. So there is the Simply Stamping Pansy Patch Sweet Sneak Peek for today. I hope you enjoyed my video. Don't forget that the cheat sheet that I mentioned earlier, the link to my blog where you can find that is in the description below. Oh, and I wanted to show you one other one that I did just because you're here. This was the first one I started out with, and I just did one of the large pansies, and then this is one of the small ones. And I just put a simple happy birthday on it, and then these are just adorable. They're called Bumblebee Trinkets. And so that is just a bonus for you to see. Still just a note card size. Hope you enjoyed stopping by. Leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. And I do hope that if you don't have a demonstrator, or if you aren't one, that you will consider shopping with me through my online store. Bye for now.